going on here. And I am going to go to the first one, and I will start with the vertex being found. You can see this whole thing is in standard form. Look what I did with number 2. I will definitely do number 5. All right, so 5, 2, very similar. Oh man, let's talk about fractions. Hopefully, I do all right with it myself, but you just got to be careful with your stuff. Okay, but the first one, finding the vertex. And sorry about the space. I'm gonna really have to like use the space like in between here real well. And then for this one, when you do it, just use your space real well here. Well, I want you to find vertex and x-intercepts. And I'll show you how to do that here in the connection with last chapter, right? And then it really will be done again in chapter 4, but taken really to the next level. And what I do today should not be a big deal. But first of all, the opposite of b over 2a, which is 2 times negative 1, that's the x coordinate of the vertex, which is negative 3, right? How many people got that correct? All right, now be careful. Negative 3 squared. Those negatives do not mesh with each other. You guys have got to become PEMDAS people. All right. Been talking about this for quite a while. All right. So this is square this first and then multiply by negative 1. There's PEMDAS. You square, then you multiply. So that's a negative 9. This is 18. And then this is minus 8. So it looks like 10 and negative 9, 1. So the vertex is negative 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. All right, negative 3, 1. All right, and then the next thing is we should know this is going down because it's a negative x squared. Okay, now here's the lesson of the day, and it really isn't a big deal. I'll ask you, and let's see how many people can say this in 3 seconds. For an x-intercept, well, I don't know how else to ask this, and this is going to be infinitely easy how I ask this. For it to be an x-intercept, who has to be 0? 3, 2, 1, go. Y. Okay, so to find the x-intercepts, you actually plug in 0 for y and solve for x. Now you'll see in chapter 4, this could be, challenging. It depends if your situation is factorable or not. What I just did in this whole worksheet is I made sure every single one was factorable. So we're going to be okay. Because for me to solve this, you know what the first thing I would do? Whatever you do to one side, say it. Do the other. I would divide by a what, everyone? What do you think? Because I don't want to look at factoring with negative x squared. So I could divide both sides by a 3, 2, 1. Negative. We should all know that. We should know that we could divide or multiply both sides by a negative to make our lives easier. All right. And then we can use the glory and power of factoring. What kind of factoring did I leave on this worksheet only? And if you walk out of here not knowing, or after doing this worksheet, not knowing how to do MA factoring, I have no idea what's going on with you. Because that's all that this is. This is MA factoring. What multiplies to 8, and then those same two numbers add to be 6. What are those two numbers? 3, 2, 1, go. 2 and 4. And I don't know if people said it. And I don't know if there's a numeracy issue or not. If you don't know how to think about numbers, then you are going to struggle in this class. I expect people to be numerate and be able to think about multiply and add. It definitely is a situation. Now you look at this. If I put f of x back equals, then you would say, all right, I know the x-intercepts are negative 4, 0, and negative 2, 0. That's what you're doing. You're solving that. That situation there. Okay, so that's the best way I can think of it. Or I didn't even have to make this 0. I could just left this f of x and just say, hey, factor this right side and get it in intercept form. If it's factorable, it's actually very doable. But anyway, the x-intercepts are negative 4, 0, and negative 2, 0. And then that fits with this, where this vertex is, here and here. All right, and then it does go down if that's all I was asking. Oh, I could have done one more point. What is the y-intercept, by the way, everyone? Look at the equation. What's the y-intercept? I should probably do the y-intercepts as well, just to keep that going. Okay, so then that goes all the way down here, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here's the other reflected point across the axis of symmetry, which would be -6, comma, -8. Okay, I don't know if I was going to skip down to that one. I think that's pretty self-explanatory how that happens, doing negative b over 2a. I want to be here for the fractions. Oh, I'm going to challenge myself right now. This is going to be ugly, possibly. So I have to do negative b. Oh, no. Oh, I don't even know why that was a brain mishap. Negative b over 2a. Then I'll actually tell you that there is a trick I could do with those fours. I don't even know what happens to the fours. I don't even know what happens to the fours. The same thing that happens with the negatives. What happens with the negatives? They cancel. The negative divide by a negative ultimately. So these fours actually do cancel because of division and flipping. So I guess I will do that. 2 times a fourth is 1/2. And we should know that. And this is why, I do these things. Sorry, I'll cancel the negatives. A negative over a negative is a positive. So we should know, yes. And I don't care about saying that. I'm getting a lot of flack from my seniors. Well, he always says I should know this. Yes. It's just like when you go to English and you're in a writing class and you have to write a 5-page essay. Your teacher expects you to know what a noun and a verb is, right? So there are some basics that are expected here. But there's another reason. I go over these fractions because I know the calculator does it for you, but it ain't going to help you when we have variable fractions. Your calculator will be no help with you all whatsoever. So you should know from grade school, at least when I do this, that you recall. What did I just do? I just changed division to what? Multiplication. And what happens with the second fraction? It what? Flips. Drives me nuts. My seniors in CAT that think I just did calculus. All right? All right? 2 goes into 4 twice, so I end up with 5/2. All right, now this becomes a little bit of a problem, and I don't think someone just asked me, would I make this no calculator now plugging this in next? Probably not. Okay, so after this, like 5/2 squared, but it really isn't that bad. I'll show you, and we'll do some more fraction work. -1/4, 5/2 squared, and leave it 5/2. You make it 2.5, you make your life worse. I can tell you that right now. Plus 5/4 x. Sorry, wrong. 5/4. Oh, gotta go back one more time. Times 5/2 again. Come on, stupid pen. I'm trying to write with my pen and it just won't do it. All right. Here's why you don't make this 2.5. Everyone can answer this question. What's 5 squared? Come on. 25. No, 3, 2, 1. What's 2 squared? You just squared 5/2. This is 25/4. Again, I do get infinitely sad students that don't know how to do that. All right? And that's why we go through these things, because this fractional idea, these ideas how to deal with fractions will come up. And you will have to know the rules of fractions when you're not dealing with numbers, when you're dealing with variables. 25/8, and then we'll just leave this -1. This is unfortunately 25/16. Now watch what I do. That appears to be the common denominator. So therefore, I got to make this a denominator of 16. I'm not asking you. We don't know how to multiply both top and bottom by 2. Yeah, those are some basics of fractions that we need to know. All right, and then what am I going to make 1? 16/16. So 50 plus 25 is 75. 65, 59. I get 59/16. So that nasty vertex is 5/2, comma 59/16. Now I know it's going to make people sweat, you doing this without a calculator. We just did grade school. Okay, we just did multiplying fractions, squaring fractions, getting a common denominator with fractions. Hopefully I didn't make a mistake. Do you see a mistake? Oh, you're right. I did make a mistake. I did the old ignoring that there was a negative out there. Oh, I hate when that happens. That's actually a common error. You ever hear a student, they never say the negative sometimes when it's a negative answer? It's just like a thing that I think people do. So I just did it. Good call. So 25/16 is what's left over when you take 50 and negative 25. And then that would be 9/16, right? Okay. Good catch. Thank you. So I am yelling, do your fractions and do them correctly, and I make a mistake. I lose my negative. Okay, fine. Watch the x. You're going to freak out. You're going to like, wait, what? I have to do x intercepts on this? Okay, remember what I said about this means this is 0 and we're solving for this, and we're going to solve through factoring. And I do hope this one does factor. I picked them that they did. Whatever I do to one side, say it. Do the other. So now we're talking about solving a quadratic and getting it in what would, hopefully you recognize as x-intercept form. Guess what I'm going to multiply both sides by? I don't like fractions, so I'm going to multiply by what? Actually, I do like fractions, but what am I going to multiply both sides by? I just pointed to it. -4. Okay? When you multiply by -4, sure, it changes the way this looks, but it's still, you're employing the whatever I do to one side, I do to the other thing. I could think of this as also factoring out a GCF of -1/4, but then that'd be tough. A lot of people couldn't get that 4 on that last term. All right? But once you do that, this becomes 0. Let me zoom in on this so I can write a little bit bigger here. And then -4 times -1/4 is 1. Aha. I've just made this a very simple factor now. Right? And I'm still dealing with the same thing. It's just I changed the way it looks. -4 times +5/4 is -5x. And then -4 times -1. Sorry, that negative looks like it's in that arrow there, but that becomes +4. So one simple step to make this solvable. Now, we won't have this on the test Friday. We're a little ahead, but I thought this was a good idea just to like compare it to intercept form. And maybe I'll do the next one where we'll just factor it. We don't even say y equals 0, and I'll turn the next one from standard to intercept form. By the way, what multiplies the 4 and adds to be -5? -4 and -1. So it becomes x minus 4, x minus 1. And if you could just imagine that this just said f of x instead of, 0, then you would know what the x-intercepts are. They are 4 comma 0 and 1 comma 0. So either way, it shouldn't be that bad. No, yeah, pen's always against me. All right, so the x-intercepts are 4 comma 0, 1 comma 0. Oh boy, okay, so what's 5/2? That is 2.5. All right, and then what's 9/16? It's small, so but it's a little bit bigger than a half. So I would say that vertex kind of resides right there. And then 4 comma 0 and 1 comma 0. I see the symmetry, right? And then one more thing. What is the y-intercept? Look up at the equation. What's the y-intercept? -1. Okay. And we go like that. It might be tough, but I don't think it would be. I think we are 2.5 away. So 2.5 away would have been 5 for that reflected point across, right? You're 2.5 away from the vertex, so 2.5 away the other way would be the reflected y-axis coordinate. All right, let's take one more maybe. Oh, I love this one. What's b, by the way? Everyone, 3, 2, 1, go. What's b? 0. Okay, so b is 0, so you get -0 over 2a, which is still just 0. And then, well, we don't. And then when you plug that in, 0 squared times 2, you get -8. So hopefully you don't have to write that down. So this is down 8 over here. Okay, and now I'm not going to put 0 in for f of x. I'm just going to say, hey, factor the right side and get it into intercept form. We'll look at it just a little different, but this is why these are the x-intercepts as well. Hey, what do you always look for first, but sometimes I make a mistake with? What's the first thing you always look for? A what? G, anyone? CF. So the first thing you do is you look for a GCF, you pull out that 2, and then you're left with x squared minus 4. And this is a difference, 3, 2, 1, go, of 2 squares. All right, and if you can't factor that fast, that is on you. Good foiler, say it. Good factors. X times x squared, 2x and negative 2x, gone, no middle term. Negative 2 times 2, negative 4. What are the x-intercepts? For x minus 2, it's what? 2 comma 0. So you don't even have to think about solving. You could just like take the right side and factor it. The problem is with the fractions. The fractions you're gonna want to make y equals 0 and then multiply to get rid of the fractions. Otherwise, factoring is going to be too hard. So probably could have held off with the fractions. Pretty rough. Okay, that makes sense. By the way, the y-intercept, come on, you already got it, right? So this one, oh, geez, Louise, look at that. That's like a Halloween parabola, all shaky and scary. All right, and then let's see if there's anyone that's good to look at. I guess they're okay. What should you do in 8 first when you're finding the x-intercepts? Does it have a GCF? Yes or no? Yeah. So I couldn't even find factoring questions where 2 stays like, and then you had to do the hard factoring and get a fractional x-intercept. So it all works out there. Ooh, and then this one, yeah, I guess I was mean. I thought I looked at the answer. Did you finish that one off? Who asked me about this? Did it work out at the end, or is it a fraction? Okay, so 1/4 ends up being the a value. All right, so just deal with it, man. I'm in vertex form. So the vertex is, let me put the parentheses. We'll leave a blank here. The vertex is -5 plus 8. Y-intercept is, I don't like that this book does this. That's why you probably asked though, Will, right? Because when looking and checking the key, they always make the y-intercept just one number. Not a good thing. So we should know that it's 0, comma. That means x is 0. That means a is what we're trying to find, and unfortunately 7/4 is here. First thing I said though is what's 8? Because that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to subtract 8. And the answer is it's 32/4. And that's how you start this off. And you'd be smart to start training yourself to know these things because in the long run, you're going to be better off. I'm going to stop there. You guys figure out the rest after that. I know -5 squared is 25. Sometimes instead of dividing by 25, multiplying by 1/25 both sides actually is the same thing. So just think about that as you go forward on that one. I think the rest of them work out nicely. But let me see that work. If you're in intercept form, if you're in vertex form, I need to see the vertex form with the plugged in points. If it's intercept form, I need intercept form with the plugged in points. On 9, 10, 11, and 12, those have been the worst. And we need those to be taken care of by Friday.